Welcome, Sandro.
I'm so pleased and honored to be here with you today.
Well, as I mentioned right before we hit record, we're going to get together in person soon. And for everyone listening, Sandro and I will be together at the World Happiness Summit in London in March. So come see us both there as well. We are going to dive right in. And I actually want to say to everyone listening, Sandro is someone who lives and breathes happiness at work and positive organizations, and he embodies it when he's on the stage as well. He's an incredible speaker. So just had to give that little plug there. I want to start off talking about self-science. I've had the pleasure of hearing you speak multiple times, but for those listening, can you share what is your self-science methodology and how that impacts people's well-being as well as self-mastery? Let's start there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Now, I want to start by saying that if we look into the studies of Harvard, especially the Harvard Business Review, we see tons of articles that talk about the self being really into understanding self-awareness and self-mastery. But there is not much out there in terms of what is it? Tell me what to do with it, make it practical. And I find it fascinating if you actually do a search on academic journals or databases. When you look at self-mastery or self-awareness, you do capture some elements, something like, the self-determination theory, which focuses on needs. And then you might see Duckworth talks about grit. And so there are different elements, but I don't see anything that puts it together in a way that makes sense, that flows, that is complete in a way. So for some reason, and just to give you an idea, even in 2018, the Harvard Business Review had 6 articles that had in the title self-awareness. I mean, if you don't have self-awareness, you cannot be successful, et cetera, et cetera. So for some reason, starting from 2011, actually, I put together this model that has 9 elements that I believe are the 9 building blocks of you, of the being. And they're all very practical. We start from needs, and then we move to values, and then talents and skills and beliefs, and then emotional intelligence, and then we use the power of imagination that is it's extraordinary. We don't think about it that much, but there are so many studies, especially in medicine and in sports, where it makes a big difference. And then we move to purpose, and then finally we close all these elements. Somehow we wrap them up with a life plan. And it's not, I guess, a coincidence that one of the most popular courses I believe at Stanford is a course on life design. So how do you design your life? So basically the self-science method, which is something I've been testing for 12 years, not only in a university setting, but especially in organizations, puts them all together in a way that is as organic as it could be, so that you can achieve your true potential, and goes beyond the person. It works very, very well in organizations, and organizations I'm talking about from schools to businesses,
right?
In a way that allows you to be your true self and to express your full potential.
And to truly thrive. Oh my gosh. So for people listening, I'm thinking that they're thinking, whoa, I want to go through these 9. How can I do this, and you've used the word practical, which I really connect to. I like to say I'm a happiness practitioner as well, of how do we actually do this in everyday life. So for someone who is listening thinking, I don't think I'm at this level of self-mastery yet, and I'm not completely fulfilled, and I'm not, reaching my full potential yet, and I'm really interested. How can someone start this process using your 9 elements?
Okay, I'll definitely give you some very, very basic, simple examples. And by the way, we use self-mastery, also self-leadership in a way that, it's very, very similar in a way. So let's think about needs. We start from needs because no matter what, we are here together now because we have a need. I believe on my end is the need to share and to contaminate as many people as possible in terms of giving them the power to be who they can be. Okay, so needs. If let's put it in the context of the individual and the organization. There are fundamental needs, and again, we don't do anything that is not geared towards the satisfaction of a need. So let's think within an organizational context. What are the needs that you want to meet at work? And your needs could be very different from mine. I mean, I could have a need for play. I would want to have a need for challenge. I would want a need for friendship, for connection.
Right.
And but when I ask organizations, do you have a clear cut information about the needs of your employees or your collaborators? And they say, no, we don't. And I say, how is it possible
A
that you
lot have
don't?
their values. I would say that's more
Right,
common. They know
exactly.
their values, but needs is obviously very
Exactly.
different.
But that's why values is the second in line in the self-science method, because if we do not meet our needs, we go on survival. So it
Right.
doesn't really, anything else doesn't really matter.
Your needs have to be met first.
First, absolutely. And think about, for example, of negative emotions. Negative emotions, apart from a few exceptions, are, stir up when your needs are not met.
Yes.
So my point is, why don't we work from needs? Now, needs are harder to deal with than values because it's so easy to share what's important for me, right?
Right. Like I value
And
family. I value professional
right,
growth. I
right.
value.
Absolutely. But when you talk about needs, it gets a little bit more complicated. First of all, we're not sure. And so, but anyway, we are social beings, so then eventually we meet our needs through others. Apart again from a few exceptions, we meet our needs from others. So if we do not express our needs to the person that we have somehow selected, very often unconsciously to meet our need, how do we know, how this person know that in fact what is in charge of meeting a need? So let's make it very simple. I have a need for growth at work, okay, and I chose John to meet this need, but John doesn't even know in the first place, and my need it's only met at 30%, because this is another element that is very important. I need to figure out my top 5 needs at work. I need to figure out the percentage of satisfaction of those needs, okay? If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it, so it's important to do it. And then I need to figure out who I charged to meet this need.
Right. Sandro, can
And
I
so,
ask something?
okay, go ahead, please.
Oh my gosh. And nobody talks about this, by the way. No, like this is very, oh my gosh, so powerful. So out there, you can find really great lists of values. Like I'm thinking of Brene Brown's list of values. It's phenomenal. That's a place. Where can someone, if you're thinking about your top 5 needs at work and maybe your top 5 needs in your personal life, where can people find, and maybe you have this resource as a place to start looking in terms of what are different needs that humans have?
Well, I tell you, I don't see a research from this perspective. Now, where we find more information is through this self-determination theory, that
Okay.
basically is a theory on needs,
Yeah.
and is building on three building blocks. One is autonomy, the second is competence, and the third is relatedness. So basically, autonomy: can I take care of myself or my tasks on my own without having anybody tell me what to do? Competence is how competent I am at carrying on those tasks. And finally, relatedness, it's all about relationships.
Right.
Now, these are the three elements, but I haven't seen truly, and I'm working from a research perspective,
Right.
collecting this data. I haven't seen anything that basically lists the top needs at work. But I can tell you that after about 15 years of consulting work, the needs that are the most common, and by the way, the least met, is very interesting, are number one, a need for recognition. By far is the number one need, that in US as well as in Europe, by the way, that employees feel that they are not appreciated enough.
Yes. Appreciated. Yes, it's in my, I talk about it all. Well, I know you and I are so aligned. So for all the leaders listening, which is a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, recognition, appreciation, it's almost like you can never do enough, because it's such a strong need.
And when I asked those leaders and managers, I said, this is what they need. And they say, listen, they get paid to perform X, Y, Z. So if they do it well, they're paid for it. But if they don't do it well, I have to tell them. And that's the issue then.
Yeah, that's how, I think about, it's also marriage, parenting, recognition and appreciation in all areas. So,
and it's so easy, and so it's free.
It's free.
Okay?
It's free. I know. Oh, I'll hit that home. Is there a place online? Is there a resource where people can go, like to your website or something, to see the self-mastery methodology?
Yes, there is. There is some information on LinkedIn, but I encourage everybody to contact me personally.
Okay.
And I would love to give them more information. So please just reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I'll provide you with all the information that I can. And I would be even willing to gift you with my textbook, which has more than 200 exercises. So I'm saying it here, and I'll promise you that this is more of a workbook than a textbook.
Yes, but that's amazing, where people can, and is your workbook available? Can people purchase it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, perfect. So that's another. Okay. So I've heard you speak about this, and so I want to ask you, in addition to recognition, what is the second most important aspect for leaders who are running organizations right now listening to think about if they really want positive intervention in their organization? So what else would you say this is what you can do to have your organization be more positive? And I know you talk about the interventions of what actions people can take.
Right. When we get into interventions, oh my God, there is so much material out there in the scientific world that is not communicated. And I mean, we have from strengths-based hiring to gratitude practices, to mindfulness training, the positive feedback culture. It's just job crafting. Let's think about job crafting, which is a big deal, because this intervention has demonstrated that it's very effective in terms of increasing employee productivity. Now, job crafting is, okay, this is who I am. This is my profile. These are my values. These are my talents. This is my purpose. How can I shape? How can I mold my job to reflect who I truly am? And what I get very often from managers or entrepreneurs is it cannot be done. It cannot be done.
Mm.
That task has to be completed this way, and that job design cannot be modified, which is 95% of the times is not true. We can shape and mold a job design based on job crafting. And that's something so beautiful, because not only increases productivity, but gives meaning to all employees, which is so important now, especially to fight this trend of great resignation and quiet quitting.
Yes, and disengagement and right.
Yeah.
Job crafting is not talked about enough at all. That's another. And so it sounds like there's this resistance where leaders and managers are like, oh, that sounds like too much work.
Exactly, because in a way, it's a custom designed suit or dress, and I
Personalized.
understand this is work, but it's work in the beginning, in the implementation phase.
Right. But it'll
The,
pay
the
off.
Right, and the involvement that you get from the employee, it's extraordinary. Also because they take responsibility of their tasks now. They are the crafters of their time at work. So they would stay an extra hour without thinking, okay, you have to pay me for that extra
They're
hour.
invested and they're motivated and they care.
It's my baby. It's me. It basically represents myself at work. It's a whole different mechanism.
As opposed to separate, like this is me and this is my job. And it's actually like I'm bringing my whole self.
Is given to me, instead
Right.
of, okay, these are your tasks. This is job analysis, job design. This is what you have to do. These are the procedures, the processes, etc. Just go do it. Well, it's different if I mold it based on who I am by guaranteeing anyway the output. The KPIs have to be met, no question about it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, science says that if I use job crafting, my performance increases as well. So I do meet my KPI standards and probably more than that.
Oh, so good. So, Sandro, for everyone's listening, they're maybe just getting to work or they're as other listeners, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I want to know more about these interventions. I want to know about the self-mastery. How can people, so people can find you on LinkedIn, where else can people go to connect with you and learn from you and get resources?
Okay, that I tell you, LinkedIn is the best option.
Okay, so everyone, Sandro Formica, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, right? I'm in the process of changing my website, and then I will put more resources there. But so far, and I also like to connect with people personally, because I know it's for some it could be a nuisance, but for me, it's a wonderful opportunity to get to know people better. So I'd rather spend an hour a day just connecting and sharing and understanding you better. That to me is an investment. Is not spending time, but it's investing.
Oh my gosh. I think you're the only guest, and this year close to 100 who have ever offered this. So, wow, people who are listening, if you are a leader, if you're interested in, which you should be because you're here on the Arrive at Happy show, so you care, take Sandro up on this offer. This is incredible. He is saying that he will be able to connect with you. And let me tell you, a wealth of knowledge, experience, and more passion than 10 people put together, I would say. So thank you, Sandra. That's so generous for you to offer that. And in this time, people are desperate and want to connect more. So I really, really appreciate that. That's amazing. So again, everyone listening, connect with Sandro on LinkedIn and look at the different resources that are there. And Sandro, let me ask one more question. Are there any places where people can go hear? Oh, I was thinking of hear your talks. So you can, I think on the World Happiness Summit website, people can hear your talks. Is there anywhere else if people want to go and hear you speak?
Absolutely. Well, my YouTube channel has a few speeches as
Okay,
well.
perfect.
And that's a wonderful opportunity. If you type actually Great Resignation and Quiet Quitting, you will find an academic article of mine that you can download online.
Perfect.
Which
Oh, and what's the name of your textbook for everyone listening too?
yes, Personal Empowerment, Empower the Leader Within You. That's the title.
Perfect. I'll share that as well with everything that goes out. Okay. Oh, well, Sandro, great to connect with you. We could talk for probably 5 days straight, but this is the end of this episode. I hope to have you back in the future and see you in person soon as well. Thank you so much for coming on.
It was wonderful being with you. Thank you, Tia.